Hi everyone, I'm Georgie Gilbert with Bigger Picture Fitness, and today I'm going to show you our top 4 exercises for building your glutes. So let's get right into it. All right, everyone. So the first exercise is going to be the famous barbell hip thrust, of course. So this is a staple for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's working the glute muscle in the shortening phase or concentric phase a lot more. We're getting a lot of hip extension, and for most people, they can add a lot of weight, and no limitations affect how much weight they can add. So for this exercise, you are first going to need a bench, a barbell, and some plates, depending on your expertise level. And you want to make sure that we have the right size bench. So for most people, a normal, I think 18-inch height bench is going to be okay. But if you're on the shorter side, you maybe want to use some risers or boxes to get the right height for you. We're going to also make sure we have a pad so that we can protect our hips when we're going through adding weight as we progress this movement. On top of that, I've got some clips on the side of my barbell because we want to make sure that we're having even lift and staying safe as we're doing this movement. So first things first, we're going to start on the floor. We're going to extend our legs and get the barbell into the right position. It's really important that we're equal so that one side isn't going to be tilting more than the other. And in terms of the bench, we're going to be right under our shoulder blade height. And you don't want to be too high or too low, as that's going to affect your lower back. In terms of foot placement, we're going to pull our heels towards our glutes. Once you extend your arms and reach out, you should be able to touch your heels, and you'll know that that's a good spot to start. After this, we are going to lift up, squeezing our glutes and core, pushing the barbell straight up. We want to look straight ahead, keep that core nice and tight, and your chin tucked. From here, we want to make sure we are hinging on the way down to protect our lower back. Squeeze the glutes and push up. A good cue to think about so that we engage our glutes correctly is pinching a penny in between our glute cheeks. So go ahead and try that out. I'm going to add some weight and we're going to do some more reps. All right, guys, exercise number 2 is going to be the sumo deadlift. So for this exercise, all you need is a barbell, some weights to start so that the bar is a little elevated, and make sure you have some clips on there as well. So the first and most important thing about a sumo deadlift is going to be the difference in the foot stance. So first we want to determine that. You're always going to start your barbell at mid-foot, like any deadlift that you do. So for me, I'm going to find how wide I'm going to go with my feet by getting down into a deep squat and seeing how wide I can match that with my knees. So for example, if I have my feet out here and I cannot get my knees that wide, that's going to be too wide of a stance. We don't want these knees coming in. So I'm going to find my stance. We're going to get that toes turned out, almost uncomfortable. We want our core nice and tight, and we're going to hinge the hips back to get a good stretch in the glutes. So the difference with this exercise compared to the barbell hip thrust is that we're working the glutes in the lengthened phase rather than the shortened phase. So we're going to get down by hinging our hips back and sitting into our glutes to start. We're going to keep a rather upright chest, and our grip is going to be narrow in between our knees. From here, we want to make sure that we take the slack out of the barbell by sitting those hips down and getting some tension in the lats. After that, we're going to squeeze the glutes, pinch our penny, and push that floor away as you stand up. We want a proud chest and heels firmly gripping into the ground. We're going to hinge back, bend those knees second, set it back down as we reset for our next rep. All right, everyone, the third exercise is going to be our beloved Bulgarian split squats. So I know you all love those, so I'm going to go ahead and offer a more glute dominant version so you can start feeling it in your glutes a little bit more than your quad if you want to bias that. So first things first is going to be setup. We have the luxury of this awesome piece of equipment, Multiflex, where we can adjust the roller to a good height. If you don't have something like this in your gym, you can use a basic bench. A good way to find the right height is going to make sure that if your knee is down on the ground, you can reach your foot or ankle up onto the top of that bench. If you cannot, it's too high for you, and I would suggest finding something else. So let's get into setup. The way that I love determining how to find the right distance for Bulgarians is by getting down on the floor first. And first thing we're going to look for is that our foot tracks with our hip of the working leg. And then the second thing is going to be how far out our foot is from our knee. So if you want to be focusing on your glutes, we're going to make sure that that heel stays directly under the knee. From here, you're good to get up, and we're going to sit into that hip, hinge our hip back to get a good stretch in the glute as we push through the heel to lift ourselves up. I'm going to grab some weights, and then we're going to do a few more reps of these. Grab some weights. You're going to be holding them to your sides, and you want to make sure your arms are nice and loose and you're not helping pull the weight up with your arms. From here, we're going to sit into that hip, framing my knee with the weights, going until my knee touches the ground, push my heel into the ground to stand myself up. Now let's do a few reps. Make sure you're keeping a nice tight core and a somewhat upright torso. All right, everyone. So the last exercise is going to be a cable kickback. So this exercise is going to be really good for the glute med, or this top part of the glute. The others are more for your glute max. But this is going to be really important for rounding out your glutes, which I know a lot of women want, and that is why a lot of women bias this exercise. So two things, is definitely some sort of ankle attachment so that you feel secure. And secondly, a box to stand on so that my working leg has room to swing without hitting the floor. If you don't have a box like this, you can use a plate or anything that's going to get you a little bit higher up that is stable. So first we're going to start by clipping in and getting up onto that box. From here, you can hold on to the railing of your cable machine for balance, and we're going to get a slight hinge in the hip, but we don't want to be too hinged forward for what we're doing. We're also going to have our toes turned in a little bit, and we're going to swing our leg out at a slight 45 degree because we want to run along the way the glute medius muscle fibers run. So I'm going to hinge forward. We're going to get some tension in that hip, squeeze the glute, kick back while keeping that angle of my foot and the line of push. All right, we're going to add some weight, and let's do a few reps. But it's important to understand that you don't want to add too much weight with this, as sometimes you can start to feel it in the standing leg. So sometimes that means it's too much for you to stabilize. Holding on, and then I'm going to kick back. All right, guys, so those are our top 4 exercises for building good glutes. If you like this video, be sure to share and subscribe. You can also find us at Bigger Picture Fitness on Instagram, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon.